Am I a real architect or just a useless blathering pundit? Coming up on Architecture CodeX.
Architecture CodeX. If you want to see more, subscribe.
The focus of Architecture CodeX is to examine the great and new buildings being built around the world. This is part of my lifelong effort to examine those buildings to see what I can learn about architecture. So it is fair to ask how looking at these buildings has affected my designs. Indeed, some Architecture CodeX fans have been asking to see more of my work. So I'm not sure if any of my buildings will enter the realm of the great buildings we have examined. Regardless, here is a very special Architecture CodeX video number 100, Villa Seacor by Michael Molinelli. Among my work, there are projects of which I am most proud, where the client allowed me to really flex my architectural muscles. They include St. Joseph's Church in Spring Valley, where I got married, Villa Lane, a new house in Westchester County, and a very traditional house in Texas. And there are many more renovations and additions where I substantially changed or enhanced the character of the building, including a number of residences, church halls, and more. Then there are some unbuilt projects, fully realized designs that just did not happen. Each has an interesting story, at least interesting to me. Recently, I was engaged by a colleague, a creative mechanical contractor, to design his retirement home. Now, he's dealt with a lot of architects throughout his career, so I was complimented that he approached me. I suspect it was because he realized I could deal with good design theory while also dealing with practical construction considerations. I would not go off on some sort of architectural whim and just run up the bills. Instead, the design of the house and all the systems we put into it are more expensive than a spec house, but every item, every element of the house adds value to it. Russell and Mary Seacor had a simple program, a 2,000 square foot, one-bedroom house. And so my solution was simple, a rectangle, a single floor of 2,000 square feet. It's accessible from the front door that goes directly into a great room. The walls are panels, slabs, with voids between the slabs at the corners and on the south side, where the best sunlight is. The voids could not be open to the outside, obviously, but I filled them with glass, or in the corners, because two of those corners are bedrooms, a change in the wall material with windows set in. I did put some windows into the slabs, as I didn't want those areas of the house to become dark, and also to allow the occupants to see out where it might be convenient or necessary. This may be considered impure architecturally, but it made sense. I pitched the roof of the house in a single direction, allowing the space on the interior to reach up to 12 feet tall. This not only opens up the main space to southern sunlight, but also allows a dynamic structural expression. Doing it all in glue laminated wood gives it a warm earthiness. And the pitched roof also creates positive slope for directing rainwater. And directing rainwater is the first function of a roof and the primary directive of architects for the last 7,000 years. From the basic form, then, other design elements spin off, but remain consistent with the overall modern aesthetic. The pool, added to the program later, became the concrete pedestal for the deck, with a line of ribbon windows to separate the two, allowing the deck to appear to float above, but also illuminating the interior space, where the swim against pool has a full glass wall opened up to view the woods. The bedrooms and baths are nested on one end of the house with a low ceiling, allowing storage and mechanical space above under that single roof. These are more intimate and private spaces, both functionally and in their design. The house is integrated with the landscape, jutting off a rock outcropping and creating its own promontory from which it presides and from which to see the woods and enjoy the sky. The driveway is carefully sloped to make sure the rain does not enter the lower level garage. But at the top of the drive, it spins off into a main level parking area. There is a carport up here, which I designed with out columns on two adjacent sides, creating the floating roof with dynamic cantilevers to eliminate the chance of the columns being hit by a vehicle. Structural engineer Kevin Miley helped complete the dynamic load calculations and the connection details of the design. Nearby, there is a shed similar to the main house. The three rooftops pitch in alternating directions, creating a wave of roofs across the site. Russell's extensive mechanical system experience allowed him to design a very amazing HVAC system for the house. It combines cutting-edge technologies in perfect balance. There are hot water solar panels for domestic hot water use and any radiant floor hydronic heating. The water is stored in a super insulated tank in the basement. There are 3 geothermal wells, 500 feet deep, which provide additional heating and cooling for the house's air system. We coordinated all the ducts in Revit, a building information modeling program, on our plans so there would be few surprises during construction. There is a propane backup for these hot water systems, and that redundancy would help during extreme weather conditions, but it has yet to be used. The envelope of the building is super insulated, and the windows are triple glazed to reduce the overall heating and cooling load of the house. And the house has its own domestic well water and septic field. The photovoltaic array will provide most of the electrical energy for lighting, appliances, and running the pumps and condensers. There is a controller that will balance the load as needed, primarily between the photo panels and the battery backup, which charges during the day when there is excess electricity. But the system can also draw on electrical service from the street or a propane backup generator if necessary. Going off the grid was not a primary goal. Energy efficiency was. But the house can exist off the grid if it wanted to. My goal as architect then was to build the best building I could design given the parameters of the project: the site, the program, the aesthetic preferences of the client, a generous but not unlimited budget, and building technology in the 21st century. My intent was not to change architectural history. It was not to astound the design press. It was not to find my own ism so that I would have a place in history. To that extent, some people will say it was not very creative, but I would disagree. I would say, like a painter, I did not create new colors, but I did arrange the colors in a novel way on the canvas. But there are design influences, and would be dishonest to say that I did not borrow ideas from the greatest architects. From Andrea Palladio, I learned that purity of material and proportional hierarchy helps create beauty and drama. And while I don't limit the design to pure symmetry, there is balance. Likewise, I didn't limit myself to the pure golden section rectangle and plan, but the ratio influenced the plan of the deck and the great room of the house, adjusted for modern construction modules, of course. It might be hard to see the influence of Villa Capra, its fearless placement presiding over the site, but it's there. From Frank Lloyd Wright, I learned that non-materiality of modern white boxes was just too cold. So I used lush materials: stone, wood, glass, metal, and concrete. The stone chimney provides a vertical visual anchor to the house, and yes, it looks like I borrowed that from Falling Water. From Ludwig Mies van der Rohe, I learned that column-free space with simple structural elements allow greater design freedom and bold use of space. The perimeter stone slabs terminating abruptly is pretty much taken from the Barcelona Pavilion. From Le Corbusier, I borrowed the ribbon windows of Villa Savoy for the windows of the pool, establishing a horizontality to the concrete base of the house in contrast to the verticality of the stone chimney. From the Gothic architects, nameless though they be, I learned that structural expression was exciting, and so the main beams that support the home's main ceiling and carport roof are visible, their strength exposed, and their pitch creates dynamic visual force. From the sciences, I learned technical proficiency, how to design the structure with glue laminated beams and decking. From the early days of passive solar design, I learned how to use deep southern overhangs for the optimization of light during the winter and the protection of the interior during the summer. I learned the value of super insulating the building envelope and the point at which triple glazing pays off. And I learned how to design the thermal interfaces for optimal energy performance. From my mentor, Don Ryman, I learned how to listen to the client and how to find the design opportunity in every project. And from human interaction, I learned how to design spaces for the people on the inside. This is primarily a house for Mary and Russell. It is not an architectural polemic. And for that, then, the first lesson comes from Vitruvius himself. Firmitas, utilitas, venustas. Stability, commodity, and delight. Much of the beauty of the house was the result of working closely with master mason Ed Muller. Ed and I worked together on other projects and have been friends for many years. My goal here was to do something different with the stone, as I appreciated the character of the stonework on many of Frank Lloyd Wright's houses, but I did not want to copy it. Instead, when the Palace of Stone arrived, Ed and I worked with it. The stone was cut with smooth faces, all set to be installed in the wall in an irregular ashlar pattern, which is nice, but it's kind of boring. Instead, I flipped the stone on the side so you would see the part that was normally hidden away between the mortar joints. I wanted the pattern to be irregular, with deep recesses creating deep shadows. I wanted the coursing to be more organic, emphasizing the horizontal but not locked by it. Ed and I worked up some samples, we went back and forth again and again, and after many iterations we eventually found the ideal pattern and method. I like to think the walls are a collaborative effort of ideas and skill. Ultimately, I freed Ed to be the master mason, and I released his artistry. I think you will agree, the result is magnificent. I also need to emphasize that the results are due to the collaboration among Ed, Russell, and myself. Ed and Russell know building, and so each step of the building process was carefully considered and precisely executed. As challenges presented themselves, we found better ways of doing things. The house got better and better. And for interior finishes and other details, I did not want to or need to impose my aesthetic onto the owners. Instead, we discussed different approaches on finishes and colors and fixtures, but the final decisions were left in Mary's and Russell's capable hands. I had designed a stainless steel front door encapsulating the HVAC symbols layered in a decorative pattern, but unfortunately, there was no viable economic way to produce it. Someday, Russell, someday. Regardless, I think we are all pleased with the results. I hope this is not the last time I can enjoy such a creative opportunity. But it does support my premise that great architects need great clients and great craftspeople in order to make the vision become real. I was asked if the house was mid-century modern on purpose, and the answer is no. It's modernist in that this was the aesthetic my clients wanted and in which I feel very comfortable designing, and perhaps I even prefer. But frankly, if they came to me and said, Michael, we want a Tudor castle, I would have had fun executing that design as well. As an honest assessment, most of what I do as an architect may be considered perfunctory. I renovate wings of classrooms, replace roofs, install hyperbaric chambers, upgrade elevators, convert storefronts to medical offices, put fire alarms in schools, update church interiors, make a facility handicapped accessible, and add on to different classroom buildings. And I'll admit, I have done fewer newer buildings than I had hoped. And I'll also admit, there have been some great frustrations when some of my greatest designs went unbuilt. But I am consoled by what I.M. Pei said when he was talking about Louis Kahn in the movie My Architect. He said, you don't need a lot of buildings to show that you are a master architect, just one or two masterpieces. And I hope that someday, maybe one or two of my buildings will be considered masterpieces. In the meantime, I just keep working on it and moving forward. I'm Michael Molinelli, and this is Architecture CodeX.